And hopefully you've seen the slightly longer video than I normally do. I try and keep it under 10 minutes. I think I was waffling a bit, which I'm probably doing now as well. But this is where we look at how you develop over the course of the 2 years as a handball player, and how you fit into the bigger picture of what the pathway is. Sue, do you want to talk through what the pathway aims are, which obviously they can see on screen? I've taken word for word from a document that Bobby shared with me earlier in the year, and I think these are on the website as well. But do you want to shall we co-talk through the pathway with everybody as to what it is?
Yeah, so the pathway, as some of you will experience it differently to others, but generally it is obviously the England handball pathway, where we try to provide opportunities and the opportunity for you to excel and progress and develop your own sporting potential in handball. Some of you will join that pathway at different levels and may exit it at different levels as well as, but the majority of you here, I would think, have joined the pathway, maybe school and then on to county schools competitions and regional academy. So there's each level, there's a clear pathway for you to move on to the next level, so that you can progress and develop as a player further to obviously reach your full potential, whatever that may be.
Sorry, Sue. And I think that's really important, because although I have intentionally capitalized it as the pathway, what it really is my pathway, as in it's your pathway. Whilst there's this structure that you'll see on the second slide that we're going to flick to in a second. In fact, if you flick to that one, next one, Sue. Anyway, and I don't know whether you can maximize or whether, we're probably okay as you are, actually. Don't tinker with it. They would have all seen this model, but this is about your journey over the 2 years with us, and equally we're going to look back and reflect on your journey to this point, and hopefully we're going to continue that forward planning to what happens post the journey, or post this part of the journey. So yeah, this is kind of like the model from England handball, and all NGBs, all national governing bodies of sport, produce a diagram of sorts. A lot of them, as I said in the intro video, do it in the form of a pyramid, just because that makes intuitive sense. We start off with a broad base, we get narrower and narrower as we get towards the peak of it. And I think the thing that stuck out to me, so when I've seen this model shared several times, is it only really goes up until 18, 19, maybe 20, 21 as England handball. And then obviously there's the GB pathway that kind of takes over. But it's, it's very much, as we discussed on the call with Chris a couple of weeks ago, it's very much around you as student athletes and as athlete students. And it's very focused around that kind of approach to it.
Yeah, so once you get to 19, well, once you get to 17 with the girls, and you move then into the GB setup, and 18s and 20s for the youth age categories for the boys, for the lads, and that's where, at that level, where England handball becomes Great Britain handball, because that is then recognised as we then enter those official competitions at those youth age category age groups, and then on to the senior men and women for Great Britain. But England handball are developing you as players up to those youth age category recognised age groups for Great Britain.
And putting you on a spot a little bit here, Sue, have you seen any transition from being part of the England handball setup to the GB handball setup as being particularly challenging for players?
Challenging. I think my main experience is obviously with the females, and I've been involved in the under-19 Great Britain as team manager. So I think it's, for me, looking from the outside in and managing that, I think there's a fairly smooth transition into the 17s and the 19s for the girls, with the people that are involved, and how we try to run those together with the DiSE, as well as for some of those girls that are in, if you like, DiSE setup and the 17s and the 19s age groups. So I think I'd like to think it was a fairly smooth and easily understood transition.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
I'm not experiencing it as a player. So it'd be interesting if the girls, I mean, there's a couple of girls on here that I know that are coming into those, into the 19s particularly.
So who are they? Because I'd love to hear a couple of people's thoughts and reflections on how they found their experience so far. So who would those girls be, Sue?
So we've got Heidi.
Okay, who else?
And I think it's just Heidi that's moved from the 17s into the 19s currently.
So Heidi, would you mind unmuting for a second?
Yeah.
And so to repose the question, how have you found that transition from 17s to 19s? Have you found it seamless, smooth, challenging?
Yeah, challenging but good. Like, it's a much higher intensity, and you can tell like the difference. But I think it's good. I'm really enjoying it. So, but yeah, it's much more challenging than the 17s.
Okay, and is that purely in terms of like the on-court standard of play, the physicality, or is it because of different things as well as that?
Yeah, I'd say it's definitely a lot more physical, and also looks a lot more in depth for like tactics and stuff. So it's just going like into further detail, and also like off-court stuff. Like, I suppose in COVID, because that's when I joined under 17s, didn't really get a chance to do that. But as an under 19s, you can tell like they're like really bonded as a team, because they spend a lot of time together as well as on court.
Got you. So that's good. I mean, thank you. That's a really positive message, and I think I think that's what both organisations, England Handball and GB Handball, try and do. So although they are different organisations, they work. What's the phrase? Symbiotically. That's my word for the day. Symbiosis. Symbiotically, and there's a lot of crossover of staff, which I think can be a good thing. But it could be, and again, I'm not putting anyone on the spot because we're recording this, and happy to maintain confidentiality and and your trust. But I think sometimes that can be a bit of a challenge, because if you're stuck with a coach that you don't really get on with that well, but you make the squad because you're that good a player, and you're kind of find it quite a difficult situation, that you can't get rid of them, you can't move away from them because they're with the GB team as well. Any of the boys on the call have gone from, is it 17s to 19s for boys?
It's
for that age group?
To the 18s for the boys.
Right, 17s to 18 or 18s.
Sorry, yeah. So from DiSE into the 18s for the boys, 18s and 20s.
Yeah. So I know you wouldn't know this, Sue. And perhaps I should have got Bobby and Joelle to tell me. Are any of the lads on the call that again would want to volunteer and unmic and just give some of their insights into that process?
I'm not sure if Liz might have known some of the ones. I suppose it's have we got any of the boys that are in the 18s program currently? Huey?
Yeah, I'd probably say it's like the best standard of handball I've ever played at. But no, I think the transition's been really smooth, because like not only the coaches but all of the players have been very welcoming. And even though I've like never met half of them in my life, I feel like I've known them for ages. So I think it's been a nice experience, because everyone's just incredibly like wanting to be there, and everybody's there for the handball, and everybody wants to get to know each other.
Cool. Thank you. That's really positive feedback for both organisations to kind of get that everything seems to be working. And I guess at this point, and I think it's probably slightly going off script a little bit here, Sue, But I think, you know, the intention of keeping you all within that pathway and all part of those squads, preparing for competitions, preparing, you know, for games abroad and games at home and abroad, is that it all is quite nice. Something to alert you to, and obviously something we'll come back and discuss in more detail with you collectively and individually, is how we deal with the exits from the pathway and the transition out of the pathway when you don't get selected, or, you know, because this will happen to someone on the call, someone on the calls tonight. You get injured and you can't play, you get deselected or dropped or cut or whatever the phrase might be, you know, and probably the most important phrase is the one that you use if you're that player that's no longer selected. So yeah, so I think that's quite a positive thing, that there is that positive stuff. But again, what we want to kind of begin for you to talk about and think about is how you manage those transitions out, because that will happen at some point. You know, I think, again, not having been around the handball scene for too long with DiSE, I'm really keen to kind of come back and revisit this in 10 years' time and see how many of the adult teams are former DiSE athletes, you know, and I'll hopefully be going, oh, I know him and her. They used to be on DiSE, and I remember, you know, they had a really cool funky pencil case, or they had a calculator, or, you know, they foam rolled, or they did, you know, they did they had a massage machine that they used after games and stuff like that. You know, because I think that's ultimately what we're trying to do as part of the England handball and GB handball setup. In terms of Sue, in terms of the slideshow, what we'd prepared, what I'd prepared, so I'll take the blame for this, was quite a boring section actually, around where we were just going to flash up very quickly kind of the descriptors of each of these phases. We're not going to go through them one by one, but if you go on to the next slide, if you wouldn't mind just driving this on, what I've basically done here, as you can see, is I've just put some text there. You know this because you've lived through regional academy. I've also put a QR code there that, don't go on to this now, that goes back to the YouTube link of the meeting with Bobby back in early September, and there's a 10-minute section, and it should start at the right place. I think three and a bit minutes in, for about 10 minutes, where Bobby actually talks through these phases.
Yeah.
So I've kind of given you this and put this on the presentation more to kind of go back and refer to, rather than for us to talk through. But Sue, if you click on again, we can see it goes from academy development to performance. Next one to, and then again, pause for a second. There's so that is Caitlin Belcher in year 2. She did a video talking about her regional academy experience, which again you can scan and look at, not necessarily now. But that is an example of one of the things we're going to get you to do to upload as evidence for part of the performance in the pathway topic area. And then next one, Sue, thank you, I'll go like that. So again, we got futures program, which again some of you will have had experience of. The next one, which will be the National Academy DiSE, which you are all part of, and then again we go back to the model. So again, just to kind of picture where you are. So again, if you go on to the next one, Sue. And then, in fact, Sue, can you talk about Akira at all?
Yes, so Akira has been part of the GB Women's 19s programme for the last three years. And after she completed DiSE, she went to Denmark, to one of the academies in Denmark. She's a goalkeeper, played at West London Eagles, progressed right through the pathway from schools, which many of you have done as well as, and she's stayed in, so she's done a year in Denmark, and she stayed on another year now, and I think I have been kept up to speed that she's actually applied for university in Denmark and is going to study in Denmark after having spent a year there at one of the handball academies.
Yeah, and was part of the International Women's Day 2021.
Yes, so that's when this
promo stuff from England Handball, which is where this has been directly lifted from. So what that goes on to, and again, so if you go on to the next one, and I'm looking a bit shifty because my daughter's about to come out of her dance musical theatre session in a moment, so I might have to go off camera and go on mute for a second. So again, we know that there are going to be various exit routes from the England handball part of the pathway. Sue, do you want to just talk through some of these?
Yes, so some of the exit routes for yourselves, hopefully in the future after you've completed DiSE. We've currently got 2 pretty good relationships with 2 Danish academies and a number of European professional clubs where players can go for trials, and some have been successful in getting signed up and contracted. So some of those players, I don't know if any of you know some of the older players. If you want to put in the chat, if you do know anybody who has gone on to either Danish academies or any of the European clubs. If you don't know, if you either take your mic off, either pop it in the chat, or I'll just give you a few examples. We had, who again is an ex-DiSE student, is Josh De Silva from the south, from Essex, I think. He went on to play professionally for at least 2-3 seasons in Portugal. We've just recently had Francisco Pereira from Nottingham, who has been contracted to a club in Germany, Fusha Berlin. Just started there this season. And then from the under-19 females, we had Storm Judge, who was the captain, and she went on and got contracted to a club in Italy. And she is, I believe, still there. So she will have done 2-3 seasons, including COVID. We also, your exit routes then are for those of you that are moving on to university and going to stay UK based, then looking at books, which has now been approved, and handballs have been approved as a book sport. And you've also got the EPA at Loughborough Uni and that connection with Loughborough Uni there. Progressing then into the Great Britain teams and squads, the youth age categories that we spoke about, 18s and 20s, going on to seniors for the men, and for the women, 17s and 19s going on to the senior women's. And I'm sure going forward there'll be other opportunities that are there for you to take as if you like, moving on from DiSE. There'll be other opportunities, I'm pretty sure, that come up.
And as we said on the call a month ago with Chris, you know, what most of the exit routes for handball appear to be still within education. I know I said that already this evening on the call earlier on, but that is still a big part of what handball has as its kind of unique selling point, that players are student athletes. They're combining some kind of training or education. And again, we know from what you've already told us that, you know, the majority of you are looking to progress down that higher education route as well. So, you know, there's quite a good fit there. Thanks, Sue. Do you want to go on to the next one?
I was just going to say there on the books and the uni, for those of you that are going to move on to uni, there's a lot of players that obviously will look at universities where there might be a club that's close to them, or particularly where the university has you know, a good standard, or if you like, a regular club and university that's playing regularly, and looking at the courses that you want to do, and obviously coinciding that with the university where there might be handball, if you do want to specifically carry on with your handball once you go to uni. It could be that the university influences your handball future career, and also the other way around. It could be that there's a club or a uni that's playing handball that you didn't know did the course that you did. So just sort of investigate things further, because there's also players within the pathway now and in the youth age categories where they've gone to universities and they're not in a position where they can carry on playing handball because, you know, maybe because it's a specific course that they've selected at that university, and there's not another uni that offers that same course that they wanted to do. So that's going to then stop them progressing with handball, because there's not a club close by and the university currently don't have handball. So it's just things for you to think about going forward.
Yeah, and again, as everyone's kind of working on DMDC2 and DMDC3, which I know you don't know exactly what they are. I've got a video to release probably this week around those, about developing a career plan. It's looking at stuff that I've shared in Teams, and I'll direct you to it specifically, about sorry, my daughter's just come out, about how you can make good decisions and make good choices based on some, you know, some established research in that area by people far more intelligent and far more gifted than myself, drawing from a lot of other sports as well. So yeah, so certainly, you know, reach out and nudge me to do that, and obviously I'll go back and review this recording anyway, and I'll kind of draw your attention to that. As we kind of move on to the next one, you're right, Fliss. I'm on a call, as you can tell. This is one of the next tasks we want you to do. And again, I think as I was putting the wheel together, I think I overestimated and maybe put a bit too much info in the progress in the pathway 1. But we want you within the next month. So again, I'm going to set you that deadline of the 1st of December to do 3 things related to progress in the pathway 1. The first one, because this has gone to be there, so any of you who are switched on have realized there's one that's missing. The first one is to upload a picture of the performance pathway to your wheel. So again, when I share this JPEG, when I share this as a PDF tomorrow, later tonight, I will also convert the image into a JPEG, and I will probably, and I'm not going to apologize for getting you to do this, just get you to upload that onto your sector in the wheel, onto your area in the wheel. The second task is to do a short video talking about, describing your place within the pathway and a little bit about your journey so far. If you scan the QR code, what you'll see is I've created a playlist with some of the second years and with a few players from a few years ago, where they're talking about their handball experience, how they got introduced to the sport, how they've joined a club, how they've progressed through the different stages and phases of the performance pathway so far, including a couple that have gone on to Denmark, and how they're studying out there in the academy. So use those as a basis for what you need to do and what you need to upload. And again, I'll probably give you this as precise information, and anyone obviously listening to the call now, write this down. Anyone watching the recording, write this down. Ideally, this might be worth uploading onto YouTube, onto a restricted site, as in you change the setting so it's a restricted recording. So anyone, the only people that can see it are people who have got the web address, the URL, and then linking the website link to the wheel. So don't upload the video onto the wheel, because I don't think it has the capacity to take large recordings, but link the URL to the YouTube link. And again, come back to me and ask me for some help and support with that one. I'm more than happy to do that. But there's I think it's about 27 short videos that you can go and have a look at, with some real good insights, and again, some really good examples of, you know, people wearing appropriate kit, presenting a really positive public image. These are all on England Handball, the EHA TV channel on YouTube. So you know, they're ones that the guys would be quite happy for us to share. And then if Sue, if you go on to the next screen, so the wheel, so Tosca, you've missed all the conversation in the last couple of days, as of you, Maddie, around the create development wheel. So go back and look at your team's messages from me, come back and chat to me over the next couple of days. And if you need to, we can catch up on a individual calls to help you with your CV. Okay. So that's the first part, or that's another task we've got you to do. Upload the image of the pathway and then do a video of your story.
Yeah.
Hopefully that makes sense. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take my daughter home, because I don't want to get her back home and to bed too late. But I'll still stay on the call listening in, and I'll unmute as appropriate. I'll probably get Fliss to click the unmute button where I need to. Is that okay?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, and I'll just
Came in
carry
about
on and
50
work
minutes.
the way through. Yeah.
Yeah, and with the Loughborough bits, probably just skip over the Loughborough, the 2 slides that are Loughborough College, British Values, and Freddie.
Yeah.
And I'll come back and I'll kind of reinforce that up in a follow-up short video.
Okay, no
Cool.
problem. Thanks, John. Okay, so the next slide that you can see, there's quite, well, there's 5 different signs, as you can see, and 5 different words. I'm just going to take each one of those words, and what I want you to do is in the chat, I want you to say what that means to you. Okay, so we're going to start with ethics, and if it's just one word or a short sentence, what ethics actually means to you. Okay, so as you're progressing in your in the pathway, what ethics, what does that word mean to you? So if you just pop what you're thinking in the chat. Yeah. Yeah. Coming in now. Yeah. Good, making the right decision. Morals. Any more? Ethics, yeah. Morality, something, yeah. Morals. Moral guidelines, yeah. Yeah, this is all good stuff there. So what that ethics, what that word means to you is morals. Is the word that's coming through there. Okay, so yeah, morals is what I'd wrote down, and morals that would influence or govern how you're going to behave or conduct yourself. So you would conduct yourself, your behaviour, as per your own ethics and morals going forward as an England handball player in the pathway. Okay, accountability. Right, so let's think about now, what does accountability mean to you? So again, just in the chat, pop either a short sentence or another word for you that means what accountability means to you. Responsibility, taking responsibility. Yeah, responsibility. Yeah, keep them coming. Responsibility, taking responsibility. Any more? Responsibility, yeah. Being responsible and independent, yeah. Responsible for your own actions, good. Yeah. Any more? Have we all popped what we're thinking in there? Got a good selection there. Yeah. Well done, yeah. So accountability, I wrote down being responsible for your own actions. Being responsible, yeah. Okay. So next one, principles. What does principles mean to you? Again, just one word, having a standard for yourself. Yeah, good, a personal set of morals, your own guidelines that you follow. Concepts, good. Guidelines, yeah. Guidelines. Any other words that what it means to you? Principles, having principles. What does that mean to you? Following unwritten rules, yeah. Thanks, Maddie. Any more? Have you all put something in? You should all be trying to contribute now. Following unwritten rules. Go on, try and just put something in the chat. We've had Maddie, Corin, Flynn, Heidi, Tosca, Alexander. Couple more concepts, guidelines. Yeah, okay. There's some people who are not really contributing here. I can see some of the names that are missing from those of you that are on the register. Be good if you all try and just think and pop in the chat. So yes, so on principles, I wrote down a foundation for your beliefs and behaviours that you live by. So your own principles that you live by, guidelines. It might be guidelines, principles that your parents set for you at certain ages within your life. Yeah, and then you, obviously now you start to formulate your own principles that you live by. Integrity, what does that mean to you? So one word, honesty, and have strong morals that you stick to, setting a standard, yeah, making the right decision, sticking with it, honesty, yeah, keep them coming. Honesty, yeah. Being honest, yeah. Good morals, honesty, following principles, yeah, truth, strong moral principles, honestly. Yeah, good. It's all the same messages that are coming through, yeah, so your integrity. Again, I wrote down here, being honest and having strong moral principles, yeah. So which is what we've pretty much everybody's put in there. Okay, and the final one, values. So what does having values mean to you? Certain aspects that are most important to you and things that you want to be known by. Yeah, good. Importance and worth. Yeah. Any more? Thanks, Sophie. Thanks, Tosca. Morals that you live by. Yeah, your values. Yeah. Importance of something. Yeah. Morals and standards. Thanks, Thomas. Thanks, Huey. Benefits. Priorities and standards you live by. Yeah, these are all good things that are important to you. Yeah. Yeah, so your values, things that are important to you. Any more? Importance of something you stand by. Yeah, thanks, Polly. Okay, so I just jotted down the importance of standards of your own behaviour and judgment of what's important in your life. Yeah, so your own, what's important to you in your life are your values, and you set your own values, don't you? Okay, thanks. Thanks for that. So we're just going to move on to the next slide here, and when it moves on, which it hasn't done. So on this one here, there's just all different words that have been put down with regards to everything there against those 5 words that we've just kind of worked through there. Yeah. And the next slide that we've got are the British values, which John said he's going to work through as well and give you a bit more definition on this. But if we just look at them here, we've got British values of democracy and the rule of law, individual liberty and mutual respect and tolerance. And what we're going to look at here is for each of those British values is we've got some examples, some sporting examples on the slide, and we wanted you to think about a sporting example that you could fit into each of these British values. So under democracy, we've got a few examples there, but if you could actually think of a personal example, a sporting example there. And if you wanted to, if you can think of one now, we won't sort of labour on this one, but if you could think of one now, then pop it in the chat if you can think of a British value that would fit under democracy. Yeah, that is a specific example to you. So some we've got a few examples there. So if you have a look at them, and if you've been party to any of those, or any other democratic sporting examples, if you can pop them in the chat. Yeah, Tosca deciding with the other team which ball to use at the beginning of a match. Yeah, you both agree which one might be the better ball to use, and you agree that, don't you? So that's a democratic decision that you're making there. Any other examples there that are personal to you that you've been a party to? Discussing what we've got there, discussing a team that we need to improve on change. Yeah, so as a team, you might have a discussion around how you need to improve and change. Having everyone's voice heard at like a timeout or a half time, so you can come up with the best way you can approach the rest of the game. Yeah, these are good examples. Yeah, so that's like a democratic deciding, voting for what defence you're going to start with, depending on what the opposition's strengths are. Sizing a team before a game, the defence format. Yeah, these are really good examples. Thanks for that. We'll move on now to the rule of law under the British values, and the need for rules to make a happy, safe and secure environment to live and work. So a few sporting examples there. The need for an impact of rules in sport, the importance of respecting referees, umpires, officials. For instance, the Respect campaign endorsed by the FA. We've not had anything like the Respect campaign in handball, but I think going through the pathway, we always do try to enforce the decisions and having respect, you know, for referees' decisions, as well as and respecting the rules of the game. Okay. Moving on to individual liberty, protection of your rights and the rights of others around you. So some sporting examples there. And you might be able to give some further examples on this one here. So have a quick look at those examples, and if there's anything else that you think you've experienced personally, then you could pop those in the chat. I think we've touched on some in the democratic and democracy examples that could also be included in here. So maybe you know, just looking at the one that Maddie's put there, deciding as a team before a game, the defence format. So it might be, you know, that the team, your team, actually devise your own tactics for particular opposition. Okay. And then the fourth one, mutual respect and tolerance. Understanding that we all don't share the same beliefs and values, respecting those values, ideas and beliefs of others whilst not imposing our own onto them. So there's a few, again, sporting examples there for tolerance and mutual respect between teammates. Can you give any examples there of what you might do to show mutual respect and tolerance? I'm pretty sure that you probably all do it at the start of a game, at the end of a game, shaking hands with the opposition, yeah, shaking hands after a game, yeah, handshakes, yeah. At any EHF competitions where you're representing Great Britain, each of the teams, once they've been lined up and they've had the national anthems for each of the teams, each of the players then high fives, goes along the line, and every player high fives every player. And also the same with the referees. So that's a good example there of mutual respect and tolerance. You'll have just listened to national anthems for your own country and another country, and then showing respect whilst that's on, being played, and then respect to each of the individual players, high-fiving them. And that's something that we do at all EHF competitions. Okay, going to move on now. So thanks for that and your input into that. Going to move on now to the next slide, which is around Loughborough College, and it's Freddie. Fairness, respect, equality, diversity, inclusion, and engagement. And this is something that Loughborough College, that's their values, ethos of the college, if you like. That if you're, those of you that are at Loughborough College, I'm sure you will have seen this before. Okay. And then just working through here, the next slide, there's again all different words there that you might that might jump out at you: respect, enjoyment, passion, integrity, some of the words that we've talked about. Again, don't forget this is about behaviours and values. And then we've got 100% me, UCAD in the bottom right hand corner, which we are on the next slide. Is again, it's pride. If you look at passion, respect, integrity, determination, enjoyment, which from UCAD we have then is 100% me. For those of you, you will do, we will cover UK anti-doping more in depth, but we're just touching here on it now because it does become part of your value, or it should become part of your values and behaviour as an elite athlete. And for 100% me and UCAD, you can actually download an app called 100% me, which I've got on my phone. I am a UCAD educator, so the 100% me app is a really good app to get, and it'll keep you up to date with regards to clean sport. The app looks, let me just get it up on my phone. I've got it here now. So if I show you, I'm not sure if you can see it. It's a white, it's on over here. It's just a white app, and it with red writing, and it says 100% me, and it's got UCAD on, and it's all about clean sport, which again is really important for you as athletes going forward, elite athletes, with regards to your values related to anti-doping, etc. Okay. There it is, 100% me, UCAD, protecting sports. And we've also got pride coming up on the next slide, which for those of you that have, in fact, all of you have come through the England handball talent pathway. What I want you to do before we move on to the next slide is in the chat box, tell me or write down what, as far as England handball means, what pride means to you and to England handball, what that acronym means. It's on all your regional academy t-shirts, it's on your DiSE t-shirt. So if those of you that know, pop it in the chat. Yeah, who's that? James has put it in. So hopefully you will all recognise that pride, what it means when you've got it on your t-shirts, personal responsibility in delivering excellence. Okay, so here's the slide coming up. So thanks for that. Yeah. So we've got there pride, personal responsibility in delivering excellence, and what that actually means to you. There it is. It should be the core value that influences your behaviours, training at competition, schools and home, as you're representing England handball through the talent pathway. And England handball expect that you conduct yourselves in an appropriate manner at all times. Okay. On the next slide, you may recognise some of these people, some of these players who, as I said, There it is on your t-shirts at Regional Academy. And I'm assuming your new DiSE kit also has it on. There's only one person there that I recognise. It's Flynn in the middle, but you might recognise some of the people. Okay. So let me just see what we've got there. So I want you to start thinking now about what your own core values are. Okay. Start thinking about what are your core values, your personal core values. So we've got 4 rings here. So in some instances, there'll be a mission statement, if you like. So colleges will have like a mission statement, your own college. If you're at the EPA, a mission statement. There'll be, obviously we've got core values around England handball, what your vision is, what your values are, which then determine your behaviours. So these are, I'm pretty sure John's going to explain further what you are required to do. I'll just go back. So for understanding how to progress in the pathway, there's 3 tasks here. We want you to describe key British values and how they relate to your own handball experience, which we did start to look at and gave some examples as we went through that. Yeah. And then the second task is describing the core values of England handball. Yeah. So we spoke about pride, how that relates there, and then explaining how these values and your own core values may affect your own behaviour and performance. I'm not sure how much of an explanation is needed on C, but I'm pretty sure that John will explain that further.
Yeah, Sue, I think I'm back now.
Okay.
Just pulled up, so I'll probably explain that. So just let's go in, and mindful of the fact we're almost bang on 9. So yeah. Again, this is a task, and I think we might extend this a bit, and I'll share a video with a further explanation of what this is. So first task, as I think Sue said, link it to the British values slide that you talked through, link it to specific handball experiences you've had, describe the core values of England handball. That should be quite straightforward. Again, just a couple 2 sentences around what that is. And then the next one, so if you can slip on a couple of slides, core values is basically what your principles are. And I think what we probably have underestimated the time we've had this evening with you is we want you to kind of reflect on what you think currently your ethics, your values, your principles are. And I think for many of you, when you downloaded or when you uploaded your CV, that was part of you. Just give a little bit more of an explanation of that, and really let's start again to work with you individually as we give you some feedback on this work. Let's try and establish what perhaps your core values are. If you go back and reflect on what I shared with you with my CV from when I was 16, you know, my 4 were determination, inquisitiveness, conscientiousness, and enthusiasm. So if I was you writing this task, I would put those 4 down and a brief explanation of how those impact what I do and how I behave, and you know, and specifically when I'm on the handball court. So does that kind of make sense? Does anyone have any kind of unmute questions and ask any questions around that one?
I just went back a slide because I had a message to do that, so it could just jot down Have you all got that and understand what you need to do?
And again, if you're relatively happy right now, we'll almost call it a day for this evening.
Where do we post it again? Sorry.
Just and say Teams, and I'll come back to you probably tomorrow now, if that's okay, and we'll sort that. But yeah, go away, have a go at this. We're not expecting perfection at any point, but just have a think around what your core values are, and I think most of you will probably have an inkling as to what those will be anyway. And then, you know, get that down on a Word document. We're probably not looking for more than 1 page of typing for this task. And again,
I think I've lost you there, John. I can't hear you now. Can everybody else hear John?
Well, I can't.
No, I can't. Okay, I think what we'll do now, I'll just say thanks for joining the 2 workshops, the 2 sessions tonight. And if you've got no questions around that, for now, if you have a go at it and post it in Teams. And if you've got any questions, you need any clarification on anything, just come back to John via Teams. Is that okay with everyone? Yeah. Thanks for that, and thanks for joining the calls tonight. And we'll see you. I'll see some of you sooner than others. Bye for now.
Thank you.
thanks.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Good to see
We
you.
lost you there, John, but I think we've wrapped it up anyway now.
Yeah.
I've just said if they need any clarity on anything, to just post in Teams and ask any questions.
Yeah, most of them are really good at doing that. So we got a system going. Cool. Would you like to stop the recording, Sue?
Yes. Wait, if I know how to do that, where am I? Let me unshare.